like iron from the fire, getting stronger. This is how legends are made. Above it all, untouchable.
Stand by break. 3, 2, 1.
This is how legends are made. This is how legends are made. This is how legends are made. I've got the lightning inside me. Oh, just you watch. This is how legends are made. I'm like a titan that's rising. Oh, just you watch. This is how legends are made.
On a very good evening of all of us. Everyone's enjoying their holiday right now, staying at home. That's actually the correct thing to do at this moment. Staying at home is the best thing you can do. And as we speak, we bring you a new segment, a brand new segment of What the Ruck. This time we saw a lot of people submitting their all-time 15. A lot of debate also on that all-time 15 because there are such a lot of legends. We saw past players also bringing their 15s. And I think we all thought it's best to discuss and come to a conclusion as to who will make this Sri Lankan 15, an all-time Sri Lankan 15 here on ThePapare.com. And like we spoke, this is how legends are made. We're going to talk about legends, and to talk through this, I have three important people. First off, Shanaka singer, Bhaskaran, and Sudashana. Is a very good evening to all legends. First of all, Shanaga, how is the staying at home going so far?
Loving it, actually. In Shaf, I know we shouldn't be flippant about it because it is something that a lot of people are finding very hard to do. But for, as someone who doesn't stay home a lot, I'm really enjoying the quietness. I'm enjoying just being at home for an extended period of time.
But I don't think Sudarshan Piris can tell the same thing. I think missing the field. I think we at ThePapare.com, Dinuk and Sudarshan have always been on the field covering sport. And Dinuk, how does it feel to not have sport for 14 days?
The first week was okay because there was some Super Rugby action, and was going through YouTube for about past matches. I've watched the British and Irish Lions of 2005 and all that. But after that, it has been a tough time killing some time. Yeah, but good family time, actually. Like Shanaka said, it's nice to see my father sitting on the couch and looking up, not knowing what to do, and my brother and my mother spending some quality time with us. So that's always good.
Sudarshan, staying at home, not doing any commentary, rugby matches, no cricket, must actually killing you from it.
It's like you said, yes, the first week was good. It was relaxing, nice to be home. But remember, we were forced to sit at home, one of the most busiest weeks. Opting in, we would have good matches, but adjusting to sitting at home and doing nothing is a little difficult given the fact that we were in a very, very busy period. But it's what needs to be done. We need to stay indoors. We need to stay safe. So doing it.
Exactly, staying indoors is important. But last week on the same segment, we spoke to two legends, both Fazil Mariza and Rizu Mubarak, on how they are spending their time. But now we have a question on our hands. I think last few weeks, if you've been following the ThePapare handles, Instagram and Facebook, ThePapare Rugby, I think we gave a challenge to everyone to see if they could find them in their all-time 15. Some of them have been following the sport from the 80s, so good challenge for them. And I think we saw ample number of entries as well from all these fans. First of all, thank you so much submitting them. So next we'll go and see what Shanak has, because Shanak has a few interesting stuff. If you would take us through your 50 people and let us know how does that 15 form up.
So just having a look there and just put myself out of the way here. Shamil Mohammed is probably the first name I put on the team sheet because there's no peer for me in terms of loose head prop. He's just one of the most talented rugby players I've ever seen. Viraj Prasanna, this was a difficult one because I thought about Bilal Hassan. I thought about a few other names as well, Bucks, who played for many years for Candy. But I thought in terms of Anuja Pereira also, who played for Sri Lanka for quite a while. But I thought in terms of scrummaging and throwing, the core skills that Hooker needs to bring to the party, Viraj was a hard man. And I thought his experience would be difficult to replace. Dunstan De Silva might be a bit out of left field, but when you're looking at the props, there's not a lot of props that you can put on an international stage who can really hold their own. But Dunstan is a big guy. He's a huge presence in that scrum, and he's got a lot of experience. He's a hard man. And when you look at that front row, that's an international quality front row, guys. And that's something that Sri Lanka may have been missing. Of course, not all of these players played together. In fact, they did play together. But this is a front row that could have done justice to Sri Lanka for a long time. Then I had a little bit of a problem in the second rows. We had Shanal Dias, who I think hips Asoka Jayasena ever so slightly. You've got guys like Dumitha De Silva, who you've got to consider. You've got guys like Lalit Veeraratne, who you've got to consider, Dushant Leuke, all those people as well. But Shanal Dias was a phenomenal athlete. And of course, Priyanth Ekanayake, I've moved him from 8 to 5. Because I think he will be comfortable in the second row as well. Hisham Abdin, you have to include him in the back row, and I've included him at number 6. I put Shehan Pathirana for another line-out option at number 7, and I've got Hari Soma at number 8. But before I lose any friends, I have to say I really did consider very difficult this back row combination, because you've got guys like Lanka, Vijay Sekhar, you've got guys like Dushant Leuke, you've got guys like Pavitra Fernando, you've got guys like Shamli Nawaz, who played for Sri Lanka for many, many years. Going even further back, you've got guys like Alfred Hensman and all those people who have played for so many years for Sri Lanka. And go even further back, you've got the Anton Benedicts, the Ajit Aberatnas of this world. But I've kept it to kind of our era. Roshan Veeraratne and Fasil Maricha, for me, I don't think there's any real debate about those two guys. You've got maybe Surat Sampath, Champika Nishanta coming into the frame, but I think these two guys are way ahead. Sanjeev Jayasinghe slightly ahead of Chandrashan Pereira. They were both finishers, but I think Sanjeev played a little bit more modern rugby, may have been a little bit faster. Sajid Maldikarachi slightly ahead of Gayan Veeraratne, very, very slightly, because he's got a better kicking game. Indrajit Bandaranayak, another one of those names I had absolutely no problem writing down, because I think he was one of the best 13s I have seen at even international level. Danushka Ranjan moved him out to the wing because I think he's a better finisher. And 15 was a difficult one for me. Riza Mubarak flips everyone else to the post because he's had such a long career, and obviously his kicking boots have brought him into this number 1 spot. Guys like Chanka Jayavira, guys like Ravika Hettiarachi, so many other people, and Nalaka Virakpodi also. But I think Riza's defense might be just a little bit better than Nalaka, so that's why I picked my 15 Pinchak.
Wonderful bit of players in that 15. First of all, Shanak, if you're joining in right now, make sure if you want to have your voice heard, they're looking at your 15 as well. So the comment section is open. Give a shout out. Any question as to why or one of these gentlemen have picked this player or this player in their 15, it's all yours. So make sure you put your comments on that, and Mike will give you a shout. Put out your questions as well to Dinuk, Sudarshana, and Chanaka as to see why they picked this. So Dinuk, without any further delay, let's quickly go into your 15. I think a lot of similar back line, but the front line had quite a bit of differences from what we saw from Chanaka.
Yeah, that's right, Inshaf. Mostly because of the players that I have seen plays the difference. So I have picked players from about 2000, after 2000, where Shanak has gone beyond. So yeah, so Henry Terrence at number 1. The most I've seen him in the international level. One thing I put him at number 1 is also to lifting. So he has probably a better height, Henry Terrence, so he can lift players like Anuradha Dharmatilak and Ashan Kartelis who have put in the second row much better. So Achala Pereira at 2, probably the best hooker I've seen in his peak, Achala Pereira. Then Kishore Jahan tipped off Swarna Tilaka probably in that era, because in the latter part of his stage, Kishore Jahan started playing like something like what Steve Hansen wanted last year from the All Blacks, is to catch and pass and run. And you saw a lot of tries being scored off Candy, where Kishore Jahan was the first receiver and did that passing game. So he had an overall game to complete that front row. And then probably Anuradha Dharmatilak and Ashan Kartel is, in my time, the best lock partnership that I've seen. Played for CRNFC for years and years. It was so good. Especially Anuradha Dharmatilak, who was very good in with ball in hand as well. Hari Soma was a no-brainer, probably my captain of the side as well, an inspirational leader. I think something that Sri Lanka lacked, and Hari Soma will fit any 15. And I put him at number 6 because I had actually Dushant Liuke and Imran Bistamin at number 8, and I feel like Imran Bistamin will tip off Dushant Liuke at 8. Sean Vijayasinghe will beat my 7, so there'll be Hari Soma, Sean Vijayasinghe and Dushant Liuke. Probably Dilip Selvam and Dushant Liuke will drop off to the bench. And then again, Roshan Weeraratne and Amjad Bucks. I would go ahead with Amjad Bucks because he was quick to the ball, a better distributor. Roshan Weeraratne, more of a settling game player. And then Fazil Madhya is a no-brainer. I don't think we had a better 10 at Sri Lanka level ever before. Gayan Weeraratne and Indrajit Bandaranaike / Pradeep Liyanage was in my 13. I've not seen much of Indrajit Bandaranaike, everything that I've heard of. So Pradeep Liyanage also was in my 13. And then Danushka Ranjan, I moved him to the wing because he has pace, he has power on that 11. Sanjeev Jayasinghe is the best I've seen in Sri Lanka in terms of 14. I've not seen Chandushan play, so Sanjeev Jayasinghe probably the best wing that I've seen Sri Lanka has produced. And then Reza Mubarak tipping off Nalaka Virakodi for the same reasons Shanaka said, extra defense and of course a good kicking game and also a much better defender. So that's my 15.
Wonderful 15. Meanwhile, Tarinder Ratwat says hi. He also submitted his 15. Also, his father also submitted his 15. We'll come back to that. Quite a bit of legends on Ashan Ratwat's side as well. Players like Dilip Adihetty, LV Ekanagal, Anil Tennakoon, and of course, he's also picked Hari Soma. But before that, Sudarshan, your 15 also has similarities again in the back line, but yet some differences in the front.
Yes, I think when it comes to the backline, most of us do agree a lot. But looking at the front rowers, I think I have one of the members of this 15 as well. I think he was a lot ahead of him playing as a prop back in that era. But in number 2, it's fun because I actually at his prop was a terrific hooker and one of those players who very well as well makes showing on number 3. Now onto the second row, Shanal Dias and Matilaka. Shanal Dias, I think, was one of those athletes who are very rare when it comes to Sri Lanka, who has that size to compete in the international stage as well. That's why he's my number 4. Anuradha Dharmatilak, I thought, was one of the most mobile second rows that I've seen play for Sri Lanka and also in domestic rugby. Ashan Kartelis would have been beautiful partner for Anuradha Dharmatilak because they both of them played a lot together at CRNFC, but I decided to partner him with Shanal Dias. Now for me, I thought was one of the players who Sri Lanka missed out on. He didn't play much for Sri Lanka, but one of the most fierce tacklers I've played. He's my number 6 to Dilip Selvam. He's at number 6 as been for club as well. So Dilip Selvam at number 7, although small in stature, he's one of those players who can really put his head down and tackle anybody. Number 8 goes to Hari Soma. I think one of those players you have to be very lucky to see him play. He didn't have a very long career, but that short career he was absolutely phenomenal. comes to the backs of and then parts of them are both of them have been playing for so long, and both of them have been so good for Sri Lanka and Candice Club as well. I've again some of like Shanak and look, I've moved Danush Karanjan to the winger position because I also feel that he's a very, very good finisher and can be of a lot of use to wing and as a former Canadian Whale partner and go with video that I've seen where Joseph for Sri Lanka and number 13 Indrajit Bandar Nayaka I've seen him play alongside the famous Kiki Bhatti in the Candy lineup and sometimes you found it a little hard to figure out who the featured was because Indrajit Bandar Nayaka was absolutely amazing playing for Candy and also for Sri Lanka and my last line of defense is going to be Rizwan Mubarak, especially given the fact that he's had a long, long career. And also his defensive work and his work has been amazing.
Sudarshan as 15. So similar players in the back line. So I thought about this. All three of you agree that we could jump right into the back line first before we go to the front line because I think we all can come. All three of you can come to a very amicable agreement as well. So this is what being 15 players in the all-time Sri Lankan 15. First off, Shanaka, number 15 is a very tricky choice because up against two people. All three of you have added the Riza Mubarak on your line, but Nanak Virakuri also deserves this honorable mention.
More than an honorable mention, I think he was a second choice for me. But like everyone has said before, I think Riza makes a few more last-ditch tackles than I remember Nalak making in his time. Although Nalak was probably a better kicker, so that's probably what tips it in his favor. But you have to look back at guys like Chanka Jayavira, people like that, Rohan Chintak, even good old Nana, who played at the fullback position for a long time. For CR, so it's a lot. There's a lot of conjecture in that fullback position. That was the most difficult one for me.
Then going on to the wingers, the two wingers, I think there were equal contributions. Danush Karanjan, Chandrashan Pereira, Sanjeev Jayasinghe. You have three people. You have to pick two. I give this to Dinuk. What do you say, Dinuk? You have three great players. All three players are, I think, equally capable, equally talented. Who will be your two players you want to go ahead?
I think it would have given a 23 would have been much easier to pick to drop one to the bench. But I've not seen Chandrashan play. So with seeing is believing, they say. So Danush Karanjan and Sanjeev Jayasinghe will be my 11 and 14 because Danush Karanjan has that power. Finishes very well. He has scored some fantastic tries in the 7th circuit as well as in the 15s. Can play at 13, a good distributor also. So Danush Karanjan at 11 and Sanjeev Jayasinghe, you can't argue any further in Shaf because he was one of the best that Sri Lanka had produced. If you have seen those tries that he has scored down the clubhouse at Kandy Sports Club, no one will argue that Sanjeev Jayasinghe was the best 14.
And he all his career in the latter part won the league several times. Then we hop on to the midfield combination. Over the past few years, we've seen Gayan Veeraratne emerge as that stronghold in that midfield capacity. But then when you go a few years back, we see other players. Sudarshan, what's your take on 12 and 13? Very decisive two positions and very important players. Who will be the 13 and 12 based on what we've seen from all three of your teams?
Himself. I think when it comes to 12 and 13, that's where matches are won and lost. They have to defend. They have to make sure that the back line has strong football. They need to penetrate the opposition defenses as well. And I think Ryan Vera has been an absolute rock in that position in number 12. And Vera plays a no-brainer. And they look well as me as well as the people will as well. And Vera number 12. And so number 13, I need a little bit of a disappointment. Just again is included in the number 13 jersey instead of Naika. But for me, Naika makes the cut because of the fact that he was such an amazing player, way beyond his years. And I think 12 and 13 for me is going to be Ranveer Ruck and Indrajit Bandara.
Wonderful choice. Then going on to Shanaga, mentions to Sajid Malik Arachi players like Pradeep Lenage, all exceptional X Factor players, just missing out in the final bit.
Yeah, just missing out. I think, well, for me, I don't agree with Sudarshan. I think Sajid Maldikarachi is just slightly ahead. But Gayan, of course, his defense was absolutely outstanding, probably where he was a little bit better than Sajid. But Sajid brought so much more to the game. He could move to 10 as well if they needed to. But one player I think that I will fight anybody who wants me to top the team is Indrajit Bandaranaike. I know Dinuk hasn't seen him play, but for those of us who have, he was the kind of Ma'a Nonu kind of figure in that back line for Sri Lanka. He was absolutely outstanding. As Sudarshana said, ahead of his time. I was talking to Harin Kalwaraj, who played against him, played for Sri Lanka, played against Bundy quite a bit as well. And he said the guy had an amazing brain, and he was also physically really strong. And for me, he and Fazil and Shamil are the guys that I will write down with my eyes closed any day.
So I think Dinuk will be having the breaking vote for Sajid Malik Arachi or Gayan Veeratna. Dinuk, your thoughts? You've seen Malik Arachi also play, was playing for Sevens as well for Sri Lanka.
You've given me a tough question. Sajid Malik Arachi, I've seen him play a latter part of his career actually. He played probably 2 or 3 years or less than after for Kandy, and then moved to CH. Played for Sri Lanka as well, like you said, in the sevens. But I think Gayan Veeratna convinces me more because I've seen him play more. A superb defender, good distributor as well. I've not seen Indrajit Bandaranaike. If Indrajit Bandaranaike is so good, putting him to space through the Gayan Veeratna would be brilliant. So Gayan Veeratna will be my choice.
This is why democracy never works, guys.
There you go. That is the midfield combination. This position is going to be something that all of us will agree straightforwardly. Has been only one player, a true ambassador of the sport, Fazil Mariza, and he's done this day in, day out, and there is no second argument about having him at 10. Charles?
No, I don't see one. If you do have to have a choice about it, you'll have to go way back, guys. And I don't see, even with the Shadows and the Sudesh Abesingers of this world in maybe the early 90s, I don't see anybody stepping up.
Nilufar Ibrahim, if you put Nilufar Ibrahim in prospect.
Nilfar's a very good player, very good coach, but to put him on the same level as someone like Fazil, I'm not sure that's adequate, guys. I think Fazil is just head and shoulders above everyone else. You'll have to go back to maybe the 60s to find someone who's of the same kind of caliber.
Yeah, one other player, Inshaf, I would like to mention at 10
and I think Nilufar Ibrahim also will agree.
Kapila Knowlton, who played for Army. Not as good as Fazil Marja for sure, but he challenged him a few times in the local competition. So just a notable mention for Kapila Knowlton.
There you go. So 10 Fazil Marja. This was what happened in 2013 in the Asia Division 1 championship as well. I think Fazil played a very key role in winning that one as well. If we can take a look at that. This was the 2013 Asia Division 1. It was early the Hong Kong champion.
His way through. Gayan, Tiliamage, and he'll go through for the try. Great set piece move there.
Then again on your screen. So those two teams, I think, according to Fazil as well, 2015 and 2013, the Sri Lanka 15 side was actually one of the best sides he played against it, according to him and Riza. And then jumping right in to number 9, I think there are two shortlisted nominees according to what we've seen. First of all, Roshan Veeratna, Sri Lanka captain as well. One pick that was actually great. We have as well. Sudarshan, you've seen players play for the same club in 2 different eras. What is your take?
I think, both when it comes to number 9, Amjad Box and Roshan Veeratna go hand in hand. But just for the simple fact that Roshan Veeratna having played with the Vasti Mulder for so long, I think he makes the cut, and also he's one of those players who can really settle things down in the team, and he knows to control the forward, he knows to try and score when he's needed, and also his kicking from the base is also pretty good. So Roshan Viratna, no argument.
Sudarshan's Dinuk seeing his list as well. Dinuk, your final word. Bucks needs a special mention, but who do you think will win that race? I think Roshan Viratna or Amjad Bucks. Both of these players coming, I think, entire half combination made out of King football.
Yeah, and from the time I watched rugby, it has been Amjad Bucks and Roshan Veeraratne in that 9 jersey for Candy and Sri Lanka. Yeah, I would. You would have given me a 23, like what I said before. It would have been an easy pick, but but Roshan Veeraratne, just for that kicking game, Insha, will be ahead of Amjad Bucks, and maybe Amjad can come as an impact player later on in the game if you had to play one with the squad that we pick, and Roshan will tip off at 9.
There you go. That is the number 9 combination for the Sri Lanka 15. Then going on to number 8, I think he's also one of the persons that every one of you have agreed correctly. Number 8, Hari Soma, former Sri Lanka national captain, has played 7s as well. Shana, you will know a lot about Hari Soma to add.
Yeah, I mean, I remember watching him play as I mean, he's not that much older than me, so I've been watching him for a long time, and he was just devastating with ball in hand. He was like Omalka Gunaratne is now, but just better because he had a better all-round game. He's used to defend well. He had a head on him. He was a great captain as well, both at Trinity and at Kandy, and for Sri Lanka. I know everybody who played under him looked up to him tremendously. The only area of his game now which might be a little lacking is the fact that he may not have been a line-out forward. But I don't think that matters with his ball-carrying ability and the fact that he put his body on the line so much. So for me, it was a fairly easy choice for number 8. It's the flank positions. There are guys like Dishant Levke and Shamli Nawaz and Imran Bissamin that you would have to consider as well, but I would probably move those into maybe the number 6 or 7 position to make room for Haris, because I don't think there can be anyone more devastating off the back of the scrum than he was.
So there you go, 6. I think there's a debate for the flank, one flank, the B80s and the 90s, and then coming to the 2000s as well. Shanaga, first of all, you've named Shehan Papirana on one side. So talk us through your choices of loose forward. We have also have to remember Dushanth Liuke, Dilip Selvam, players of that stature as well, played a decade earlier than Shehan Papirana, but it's going to be a tough choice.
Well, he's one of the younger players I've actually picked in this all-time 15, and that's because I saw a lot of quality in the boy since 2011 when he captained Royal. I just thought he was a finished article. It's a shame that he wasn't able to remain fit, and that's something that I think has really drawn him back in terms of how much better a player he could have been. But to see him in the line-out, to see how that candy pack plays when he's in and how it plays when he's out, that is a huge difference in the quality of the player. So it's, I think I may have maybe overstated his case, but I would pick him ahead of a lot of other players, especially for his line-out ability and his ability over the ball as well. It's an area of the game that he doesn't have to do much of now because he's playing in the second row. He's playing on the blind side. But let's not forget, he started off as a number 7 and he did that job really well. So I think he can, with a guy like Haris at the back as well, who can do that devastating ball carrying stuff, you can use someone like Shehan just purely for the job that he set out to do with the line out ball and also just create havoc, score tries, support the ball carrier, that kind of thing. And he's got a lot of pace as well. So that's why I picked Lema. And of course, on the blind side, there's so many names, guys like Sean Vijayasinghe, Vijayasinghe, Dushanth Levke, going all the way back. Hisham Abdin is the guy I picked. But any of these players turn up.
This is going to be one of the more harder combinations they're going to pick.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that third
This is
row
going to be one of
combination
the
is
hardest
probably
picks. Dinuk, first of all, I'll ask your choices and then we'll take a look at how we can come to. Dinuk, you picked quite a bit of options. Sean Vijay Singh, Dilip Selvam also along with Dushant UK.
Yeah, so again, like Shanak said, toughest to pick the third row. It's amazing to see that Sri Lanka has produced so much third row players in the 6, 7, and 8 positions. Dilip Selvam, Sean Vijay Singh, Dilanka Vijay Sekara, Imran Bistamin. The little that I've seen him play, Imran Bistamin was class apart in the 15s. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he played an Asian 15s, but he was devastating. It's a pity that he couldn't continue playing. But I think Sudarshan and Shanak would agree with me. Imran Bistamin was one of the best and could have been one of the best that Sri Lanka had produced. Dilanka Vijayasekara again, someone, but tough choice, gentlemen. I think it's if it was for me, I put Harisoma at 6 so
Dinuk,
that I
I'll
can
have
make
to
space
shorten it down.
at 8.
You need to have two people.
Yeah, so that's why I put.
make a choice, Dinuk. Make a choice.
Make a choice, Dinuk.
Okay, so I'll go with Sean Vijay Singh at 7, Dilanka Vijayasekara at 6.
Tough choice, interesting choice as well. And then Sudarshan, right, we'll make it very quick. Your choices for 6 and 7. I saw you had put Lanka as well on your team. How does it go?
Yeah, I picked Lanka as 6 and Dilip Selvam as 7. But having a player like Haris Soma at number 8, I think it's very lucky that all three of us are quite agreeing with Haris Soma at 8. So absolutely no problem with that. I'm going to have enough in my team any day of the week, but maybe like Sean mentioned, the third row is the most difficult one. It's going to be a little difficult to pick the other person for me because Sean Imran and also coming in that with they were being contenders, real contenders for that spot. And if you go a little back, the likes of Shamli Nawaz, how can you not have a person like Shamli Nawaz in your team? Hisham Abdi can be a contender as well. So I'm quite undecided on that. I know for a fact I want Dilanka Vijayasekara in my team. Who's going to be the other one? I'm not decided.
Up to
Okay,
you,
we wait and
Shanak.
see
You have
few
seen more rugby than us.
before that, comments coming in. Mohammed Nigmat also has his suggestions. He comes with the initial Hisham Abdin and M. Dharma in his flanker combinations. Then Akhil Seniratna also joining in right now. Says Ashen Kalteris will also make a good flanker combination. Shanak, it's up to 6 and 7. Both Dinu have agreed about Dilanka Vijayasekara. So you have one point up to you.
It's a tough one, guys. Two different eras, and it's really difficult to compare guys who played in different eras. But Hisham Abdin adds a little bit of flair. But perhaps you're right in the sense that in my team, Shehan Patrina and Hisham Abdin might be a little too similar in the way they play. So perhaps bringing someone like Sean Vijay Singh or Dilanka Vijayasekara into that number 6 jersey, or even Nawaz or Dushant, I think that will probably be the optimum.
Pick one, Shanaka.
Okay, Sean Vijay Singh.
Okay, so before we go, there's another comment coming in. This one should be going to Shanaka because he should see most of our rugby. Shanaka, where will legendary Bolt, if he played in the modern era, in the 90s or the 21st century, where will Suman Navaratnam be in his legacy of his own?
Well, he'll be on the wing and fastest man in Asia. So there's no question that somebody's just going to kick it and he's going to chase it and score. That's just exactly where he's going to be. But like all of us comparatively, we've got about 15 years between us. But the fact is that we haven't seen him play, and it's very difficult to pick guys who we haven't seen play. It's like people say that Mahadevan Sadasivam was the best batsman Sri Lanka produced, but if you ask one of us, we'll say Aravind. So it's difficult. It's a tough one.
Okay, so that's what it is. So then coming to the second row combinations, we've seen this player. He's been a one-time Sri Lankan administrator as well. Very important player in the Sri Lankan circuit. Priyanth Ekanayake. I think Dinuk, everyone here will agree. Priyanth Ekanayake deserves a spot in that all-time 15.
Yeah, definitely. The reason why I've not picked Priyanth Ekanayake is because I've not seen him play. That's the only reason. But I've heard how Priyanth Ekanayake was in that second row. And those days, remember, there were no lifters, and still he was so good. Had exposure in New Zealand as well. So Priyanth Ekanayake, I agree with you, Inshaf.
Okay, then out just to as well, one player who should have played his rugby more often was me, exceptional second row.
Sorry, I didn't hear you there, Inshaf.
Yeah.
Talking about Shenal Dias, Shanaka, another key player, I think played for Sevens for Sri Lanka and for Havelock Sports Club. He was exceptional, a three-dimensional player. You really think, talk us through Shenal Dias, and he could have played a little bit more rugby as well, although he had cut short his career.
Yeah, such a shame that he had to finish his career so early. Phenomenal athlete, probably one of the best athletes that I've seen before Dhanushka Ranjan coming into the Sri Lanka setup. He could pretty much do everything. He could jump at number 2 in the lineout. He could devastate people with his running lines. He was just a big, strong boy. And when he was in that sevens team, Sri Lanka were actually one of the best sevens teams in Asia, second probably only to Japan. And in the terms of what he brings to the teams, just by his athleticism, I think he tips guys like Asoka Jayasena, Davinder De Silva, and people to that spot because he could just do so many things. And that's why I think Shenal Dias is a little bit ahead of the other options that we have in that place. Even guys like Anurag Damital and Ashen Karthler, is all very good athletes, excellent line-out jumpers. But I think Dias, just like you said, three-dimensional, adds a bit more around the park everywhere.
Exactly. So Shenal Dias was also exceptional in the Asia Division 1 Championship as well. I think most of these players who we have picked, most of Shanaka, Dinuk and Sudarshana have picked, have come out of this Asia team of 2013 as well. Quite a bit of numbers in that team as well. Shenal Dias has scored an interesting try in that game as well, in that final game against Kazakhstan that was held at Havelock Sports Club. So Sudarshana, any other honorable mentions you want to mention from this? I think Sajid Saranga was honorable mention. He came.
Yes, of course. Yes, I think if we are talking, I think we can't not mention he was a fit as well. Second row, I think Shanaka will agree with me. When it comes to the line out jumping as well, that's when it sort of started with the second row is being lifted up. So Asoka Jayasena, I think, needs honorable mention there. So Ashen Karthler is terrific. What you're seeing now is Shenal Dias, why he's undisputably for us there. Make it hard because Shenal Dias was absolutely amazing because, especially because of his physicality. He's one of those big players that Sri Lanka had and who had a very good knack of his running lines. He provided a lot of options to the coach. Shenal Dias is definitely one of the players who is going to make the team that all time. And the other is there's Dharma Tilaka. But after listening to Sean as well, I think we will have to go with Priyanth Ekanayake, the other side.
So Priyanth Ekanayake and Shenal Dias combining in that lock combination. Then we come to the important ones, the tight three. And quite a bit of names. Dunstan De Silva, first of all, former CRNFC player, also played Sri Lanka and was in a capacity of CR manager as well. And then Shanaka, you picked Viraj Prasanth, the current Sri Lanka forwards coach as well. Tell us how important these players were, along with Shamil Mohammed, he was someone who we were vouching for straightforwardly as a player you want on your 15. Tell us how important those three players were.
Well, Dunstan De Silva is a rock. I mean, if you've seen Dunstan, you know that you're going to need a bulldozer to move him, and that's exactly what you need in your tight head prop. Shamil Mohammed again, like Shenal Dias, phenomenal athlete. Perhaps not as physical as Shenal Dias is, but he's a big lad. He's tops 100 kilos, and he can hold up his end of the scrum. But just the amount of skills that he brings onto the field, it's like playing with a second number 8. When you've got Shamil Mohammed on the pitch, he's got so much skill in terms of distribution. His running angles are so good. He's got a great rugby brain as well. He can always pick up what's happening in the scrum, in the line out, make adjustments if those are needed, talk to the captain. That kind of skill is also something that you have to think about. And Viraj is a quintessential hooker. He's a hard man. He's a guy in the mold of Sean Fitzpatrick, Brian Moore kind of hookers. He's a guy who'll get stuck in there and you can't budge him off the ball. He's a guy who likes to do the tight stuff, the mauling, all that kind of stuff. He absolutely loves that kind of work. His accuracy in the line out was also really good, and he's got a lot of experience. So he's a guy that came through Isipatana, stuck with CR right through his playing career and as well, and has played alongside a lot of very good players, and he has got picked ahead of everyone else to the CRNFC team, to the Sri Lanka team rather, while he was in the heyday of his career. Lost his place to Anuja Pereira, who I think also was a very good player, excellent line-out thrower. But I think Viraj, in just terms of being a hard-as-nails tough guy, may add a little bit more to what is already a very mobile pack.
So interesting three combinations. I go to Dinuk. Dinuk, you picked a candy combination. Kishore Jahan, very importantly, playing in that team. He spoke mobile. We saw a few years the mobile he used to play. But Achala Pereira, another interesting choice in your 15.
Yeah, the reason why I picked Achala Pereira is I remember him when he came to Kandy. I can't exactly remember the year that he came. He outplayed Bucks. That's the younger Bucks who was so good in the hooker position. And Achala Pereira was at his peak was one of the best hookers I have seen. I've not seen Shanaka's 3 play more. But what I have picked is what I've seen in Surf, and that's why I picked Achala Pereira. Again, a rock solid player, can go into contact, good line out throw as well, and then gives his heart out 100% on the field.
Kishore Jahan?
Yeah, Kishore Jahan as well. Like Shanaka said, if Shamil Mohammed is a good distributor, Kishore Jahan developed to that. And Kishore Jahan is a player who learned rugby throughout his club career at Kandy Sports Club. And he was superb with ball in hand. If you see a couple of tries, if you see ThePapare footage in the last few seasons he played, the amount of tries that Kandy scored off him shows him how good game awareness he had. Players at the back where he saw space as well. So that's why I picked Kishore Jahan at 3 and Henry Terrence for the reason I told, just to give that extra edge to lift players like Priyanteka Naik and Shenal Dias. They give that extra height when we play that international teams.
So I'll jump right back to Shanaka. Shanaka, you'll be given the choice of making. I think Sudarshana also had mentioned Satyanatunga in one of his teams as well earlier. But Achala Pereira has been a constant in Sudarshana's and Dinuk's team. But I'll give it out to you. There was Henry Terrence also making the team in Dinuk's 15. So if you get a choice to make Shamil Mohammed, Henry Terrence, Viraj Prasanna as hooker, Achala Pereira as hooker, and alongside the other two players we mentioned, what will be your 1, 2, and 3?
I think Achala Pereira is a good shout, but I think Viraj was just, like I said, a harder player than Achay was. So I would stick definitely with Shamil and Achala. But Kishore Jahan is probably someone who can make it to that scene. He developed, as Sudarshana said, into a very good player. And Henry Terrence also is someone who later on became a much better player than he started out being. So I think perhaps I'll have to move Dunstan out, bring Terrence into the tight head side of the scrum, and perhaps that would be my front row.
Jump right into Sudarshan. Any changes to that front row? So according to what Shanak is going to be, is Viraj Prasanna, Kishore Jahan. Is it Shanak, or are you going ahead with Dunstan? Henry Terrence, Viraj Prasanna along with Kishore Jahan?
You asking me?
Shanaka, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Shanaka, you meant.
Shamil Mohammed, Henry Terrence, and Viraj Prasad.
Sudarshan?
I think second one we are going to tackle. So for me, I think I will go with Sham Mohammed as number one. Definitely Achal Pereira at number two because like Shanika mentioned, he said Viraj Prasad was more of Sean Fitzpatrick, Brian Moore. I think Achal Pereira at his heyday was the likes of Dan Coles or Kevin Milamo because he could distribute the ball as well. He was a very, very mobile player. He was part of that important Kings of the seventh team who made who ran circles around all the other school teams. So and who he came was when he came into the end. So I think I'm going to go with Achal Pereira, and like Dinuk was mentioned, I like Kishore Jahan latter part of his. I will go with Achal Pereira and Kishore Jahan.
So,
We have
Kishore
a problem.
Jahan, very unfortunate to miss out in this team. We have a problem. So there we have 15 players. Viraj Prasanna undoubtedly second, with where number two jersey with that hooker position, Henry and Shamil coming anyway from Shamil Mohammed. So for to go with three. It's a compromise from what we've seen with your 15 as well.
Okay, if you insist.
So there we have the 15. So Akila Seniratna also tells us about Indrajit Kumaraswamy played and captained Sri Lanka in the 1970s, but would have been a great player once again if only one of you gentlemen was able to see him play. I think he would have definitely made that team, isn't it, Chandra?
Yeah, I think Indrajit Kumaraswamy, he gets a good rap because of course he rose up the ranks in the civil service as well, and he ended up governor of the central bank, so that gives him a little bit more of an aura. But none of us saw him play. But there were guys like Mahesh Rodrigo, who also played in that scrum half position, who may deserve mentions. But these people are way before my time.
Okay, so I should write that. Have a look at it'll be very time. Any that this team.
Sorry, Inshaf, you need to ask that question again.
Any key players that we've spoken about 15, but any key players that we are missing actually from this team? We spoke about other players, but tell me any key player that we are missing out from this team.
Well, it's just a matter of opinion, isn't it? I mean, between Sajid and Gayan, between all those choices we spoke of in the front row, all the choices we spoke of in the third row. So it's purely a matter of opinion. I don't think we're missing anyone as such. Chandrishan and Sanjeev were the choice there. So it's purely a matter of opinion.
There you go. Exactly. So this is also opinion from the corporate commentators. So there we go. This is our all-time Sri Lankan 15. Shamil Mohammed, Viraj Prasad, Henry Terrence, and Shanal Dias in that combination in the second row. In second, delight rushing Arizona in the loose forward combination. Then we go on to a all Kingswood combination at Roshan Veeraratne and Fazil Marija. Danushka Ranjan goes to the wing position, and we will bring in former Sri Lankan representative Gayan Veeraratne and Candy captain in alongside Indrajit Bandaranaike at the midfield, and Sanjeev Jayasinghe gets the nod at the wing three-quarter position alongside Reza Mubarak at 15. So this is our 15, and I think we've had a wonderful time. Both Shanaka, Dinuk, and Sudarshan, all three of us have been very have been adding in a valuable input as well. So thank you so much. And this is exactly what our 15 looks like. So if you have any changes, again, we are opening the floor back again to our fans as well. If you can make a difference or bring some changes with your justification, do go ahead and put it out on the comments below. So that's when we will take a look at that. But then until then, it's been a pleasure to have you three and talk you through these 15. Shanaka, first of all, thank you so much, Shanaka, for joining. Next time is going to be putting through your 7 for the Sri Lanka 7th team, an all-time 7th team. Few of these gentlemen in the 15th will also be looking at making the 7th. So thank you once again, Dinuk, Shanaka. And
Thank you very much.
And until next
Thank
time,
you very
this is Insha Kapoor for ThePapare.com.
Thank you, Insha, for helping us to kill some time today.
Stay safe.
Stay safe, guys. Stay safe, Sri
home.
Lanka. Stay home. Stay home. See you guys.
Like iron from the fire, getting stronger. This is how legends are made. Above it all, untouchable.
Stand by break. 3, 2, 1.
This is how legends are made.